I don't normally talk gaming on this channel unless it is directly Linux related, but I think this is important enough to be an exception. So a few months back, I had Ross Scott from the Stop Killing Games initiative over on my podcast, Tech Over Tea. Be sure to go check that out and also give the channel a subscribe. We are only at 14.3k subs, and I'd love to see more of you over there. And recently, there was a reinvigoration of the movement thanks to Ross Scott's video, The End of Stop Killing Games. This is at 632,000 views. But this is only scratching the surface, because when this came out, there was a flood of support. There were videos from Jacksepticeye a couple of hours ago, Moist Critical, multiple videos from Mudahar, The Act Man, there's been multiple videos from Asmongold, and a ton of other people have been talking about this. And we've gone from a movement that looked like it wasn't going to succeed to there being a chance that something actually happens here, that something actually changes and the world becomes a slightly better place. I'm not in the EU, I'm not in the UK. I can't directly support these petitions. What I can do, though, is talk about them. What I can do, though, is hopefully get some of you to support these petitions if you haven't done so already. Because whilst my largest audience is from the US, my second largest is Germany, and my third largest is the UK. And those are exactly the people we need to support these petitions. Now, this video is not going to be about the things that Pirate Software has said, because frankly, everybody has talked about this already. Ross has done a great job, Moist Critical's done a great job, some ordinary gamers, Josh Strife Hayes, and a bunch of other people, and there's nothing more to be said there. Instead, I want to talk about the initiative itself. For anyone completely out of the loop, what is Stop Killing Games? Well, as it says on the website, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as support from the publisher ends. This practice is a form of planned obsolescence and is not only detrimental to customers, but makes preservation effectively impossible. Furthermore, the legality of this practice is largely untested in many countries. As it currently stands, there are many online video games, whether they be multiplayer games or single-player games with some form of online connectivity, where they'll often have some form of clause in the EULA that goes something like, we can shut down the game at any point for any reason, or in some cases, we can shut down the game for no reason. Yes, that is actually a real term that exists. I think it's in... is it in Ubisoft's or Blizzard's? One of them. But yes, no reason. Doesn't matter what it is. And the point of the initiative is to challenge the legality of this term and others like it, and instead require companies to have some form of end-of-life plan for the game, where once the game company says, we don't want to support the game any longer, we don't want to run servers, we don't care about the game anymore, we're focused on new shooter game 37, at that point, the game can remain functional after the support period has ended, once the game company no longer wants to support the game. Now, to be clear, because there has been a lot of misinformation about this, a lot of it did stem from people like Pirate Software. Again, I'm not going to get into specifically his points, but this is not about a ban on online video games or requiring companies to support a game indefinitely or a ban on live service games or anything of the sort. All of this is directly covered in the FAQ. What this is once the company says they don't want to support a game any longer, whether that be a single player game with online connectivity, a multiplayer only game, that there is some means to keep this game in a functional state. It is to ensure that when you make a purchase, that purchase is not suddenly taken away from you. Now, it is intentionally vague about what that end-of-life plan should be, because different video games are gonna require very different approaches. Take, for example, an MMO. Now, this is one of the things which people talk about, oh, well, you couldn't ever keep an MMO alive, that would be completely impossible. A way you could approach this is not shutting down community efforts to run private servers. This is something that people do for old versions of World of Warcraft, old versions of RuneScape, especially before OSRS came out, and a ton of other games. People go and make community servers for. Whereas a game like The Crew, which is basically the catalyst for the initiative actually starting, this is effectively a single-player game with some minor multiplayer elements. People can be in the world, but because of this, it requires verification for the now shut down servers. So the game is literally unplayable at this point. You cannot play The Crew anymore. Of course, in a lot of cases, you cannot keep the original functionality entirely intact, but also that is not the intention. It doesn't have to have all of the multiplayer functionality there working exactly the same way. There are games like, say, Dark Souls 1, which had its multiplayer shut down due to an unpatched RCE, but the rest of the game is entirely still playable. Or another example, Gran Turismo Sport, where prior to the game being shut down, they made an offline patch where all of the online-only content just became offline stuff, and you can do all of those events now. And another great example is a lot of the Monster Hunter games. Now, not all of them. There are some that have some weird online stuff with their hub area, but in Monster Hunter World, now that they're no longer doing content patches for that, the servers are still online, but now that they're no longer doing content patches, all of the events are just available whenever. So if you want to do the Christmas event in the middle of June, if you want to do a Halloween event in January, all of that stuff is just entirely available offline. Now, a common counter argument is, aren't games licensed to the customer, not sold, therefore that license can be revoked? And this is absolutely true within the US, and the law is pretty much settled on that. You're not going to change that anytime soon. Other countries, however, consider video games to be a good, and theoretically at least, very much theoretical at this point, consumer protections, which already exist for goods, should be applicable to video games as well. And that's something that this is trying to actually hook into and trying to use to make something happen here. Also, a very important point, this doesn't mean that a company couldn't ban you from their game servers. If a game is still being supported by a company and you break the rules, you cheat, you use an aimbot, something like that, they have every right to ban you from their servers. However, once the game has been left behind, they no longer run servers for it. It's now up to the community to run their own servers. Now it's up to the community of gamers how they want to handle you. Do they want to let you play? Do they want to ban you? Do you have to go and run your own server and play by yourself because nobody likes you because you cheated in a video game? Whatever the case is, at that point, it is not up to the company. As it currently stands, there remains 2 government petitions open. Now, I know a lot of people don't understand the distinction here. A government petition is not a change.org petition. It's not, oh, I got people to sign my open letter and now literally nothing happens. A government petition in many countries is a legally binding contract where if a vote count is met, something has to be done. Whether it be debated in Parliament, whether they have to make some sort of comment on it, it depends on the specific region. So currently the EU petition, when I was planning this video like 2 hours ago, was at 769,000. Now it is at 773, almost 774,000. Keep in mind, this one is open for a bit longer to July 31st of 2025. That doesn't mean you should delay your signature. If you want to support it, go support it now, because the more signatures happen now, the more movement there is going to be, the more people are going to be willing to put their signature on it because they see other people supporting it, because frankly, look, a lot of people are sheep and do the thing that other people are doing. Now, if you do want to sign this, you do have to be a citizen of the EU. This can't be signed by just random people, but if you're in an EU nation, like Germany, my second biggest audience, you can support this, and I highly recommend you do so. Now, the other petition, this is from the UK. There was an earlier petition, and then the government got disbanded, and then a new petition had to be made. So this is that new petition. They have given an early response. There are no plans to amend UK consumer law on disabling video games. Those selling games must comply with existing requirements in consumer law, and we will continue to monitor this situation. However, this is just an early response. Once they hit 100k signatures, this petition will be considered for debate in Parliament. Right now being at 80.4 thousand, this was at 79 or so when I started planning this. This has been moving very, very quickly, and I think there is a real possibility that this passes. This, however, ends much, much sooner. The deadline is the 14th of July. So if you are a UK citizen, support this as early as possible. Don't wait. Don't wait until you might forget about it. If you support the petition, sign it right now. And it looks like a bunch of people just signed it as I was talking. We just went up like 10 people. And between takes, there's like another 30 people here. Now, there has been a really big bump. But the earlier petitions didn't exactly go that well. So let's go down to the bottom. In Brazil, they couldn't do anything because they didn't have sales numbers. So basically, there is no functional way to do anything in Brazil unless Ubisoft tries to change the law, which wouldn't make sense because they're the only ones who'd have sales numbers. Unless, I guess, a shareholder wanted to change it and, like, use those numbers. In the USA, there was no response. This is to be expected because the US law is the only place where it's really settled. In Canada, they wanted to break it down by provinces, which means that some of them would be very small, and this would have basically no impact on the industry. In Australia, it was originally taken up with the government. Then they were like, hey, take it to the ACCC, and we're still waiting on a response from the ACCC. With Germany and France, who have their own individual petitions, there is a decision pending on both of those. Then for the UK and EU, those still have the open petitions. Right now, all that is left, the only hope, is the EU petition, which right now, has it passed 774? Their site is awfully slow. What are we at? Yeah, whoa, actually shot right past that. And the UK has gone up another 200. So, again, I think there is definitely some hope here. I am in Australia, and all I can do is boost the problem to more people. And I encourage more people to speak on the matter and hopefully make their voice heard. There is currently a social media campaign, #StopKillingGames, so be sure to go and use that hashtag. I will share this video with the hashtag as well. And just, if you're not in these regions or if you've signed the petition, talk about it. Talk about how important this is. Talk about how this is the only chance we have to actually make a change in game preservation and keep these games alive. Keep them alive like games used to be able to be kept alive back in, the days of Unreal Tournament, where you can still play Unreal Tournament servers today or Quake servers today because there is server software available. These games will live forever, and that's just not something that can happen with modern video games. A lot of these games, when the server shut down, the game shuts down. And I don't want that to happen. 20 years from now, I want to be able to come back and play games from today, and maybe they're not in the same state they were in, but they're still in a playable state. I'll leave all of the relevant links in the description down below, so be sure to go and check those out. And also, big props to PewDiePie for, even though he hasn't made a video yet, hopefully he does, that would be very cool, he did make a community post boosting this as well, which has had 109,000 likes, which is quite a few. Quite a few. I would very much like to see a video because that would pop off a lot. So, hopefully, if this does pass, and if this does go well, we can also maybe see changes made in general consumer software as well. But one step at a time. The first step is video games, and I hope something can be done here. So, Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you're in the EU and signed the petition. Let me know if you shared it around, and be sure to share this video around as well and get as many people to see the petition as possible. If you liked the video, go like the video. Be sure to subscribe as well. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Silly Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and let's hope we can stop killing games.
Something like this.